Howdy, my name is Julianne, also known as Roadrunner, and I'm a long-distance trail through hiker. I thru-hiked the Appalachian Trail in 2022, and I thru-hiked the Pacific Crest Trail in 2024, and next year, 2026, I am planning to thru-hike the Continental Divide Trail. Today, I want to talk about the first steps of my planning. As I was thinking about what kind of content I could provide for you guys that's valuable, I asked Mountain Goat what she thought would be something she'd be interested if she was a subscriber and she was following a long distance hiker. And she said, what about your planning process? How do you start, and what do you think about when you start the process? And so I thought maybe that's a good idea. I'm not sure this will be a long video, but you never know. So as you just heard me say, I am planning to hike the Continental Divide Trail. It wasn't something that I really had thought about doing anytime soon, but the opportunity presented itself. I actually have a video that talks about why I changed my mind of doing it, so do check that out. It's actually a good question. Where do I start in my planning process? I tend to be somebody who's trying not to overwhelm myself with information. So generally I start planning by looking at small chunks of planning at a time. So I'm not somebody who's going to look at the whole picture, overwhelm myself with all the different things I need to do. So I go, well, what is the first thing I need to do? Well, the first thing I did, I downloaded the map in the Far Out app for the Continental Divide Trail. Well, I paid for it. You can pay for the entire thing or for like an annual subscription. I tend to like to just buy the whole thing. And so that's what I did. So that's the first thing I did because I needed to figure out what airport to fly in, as well as what is entailed in getting to the southern terminus. I'm pretty lucky when it comes to the people that I have in my life. So I have a bunch of patrons that are part of a Telegram group, and I really would say that they've become my friends. And I've had a few of them tell me immediately once I told them that I was going to do the CDT, give me the information that now I need a permit to be able to get to the southern terminus, meaning it is guarded by the United States Army, and you can't just walk to the southern terminus, which is essentially right next to Mexico. And so now you have to go through an application process. The patron sent me the link to the application and what is entailed. You know, the application, of course, is not super clear, but ultimately it says on the application that you have to apply in person, but that's not true. You are able to email the application to the military. They do a background check on you, and then you hopefully get permitted to go and hike to the southern terminus. The most important thing to note, though, is that you are only allowed to get to the southern terminus at this point if you are a United States citizen. I am a United States citizen, so I am thankful that I'm able to get to the border. And now I haven't done the whole process, so I might do an update video on what it actually all entailed, but that was the beginning part of my planning, looking at what do I need to get to the southern terminus. Also, which airport I would likely want to fly in, which is El Paso, as well as how do I get from the airport to the trail. And there is a southern terminus shuttle that provides a ride, as well as an opportunity to get some water caches for the next 30 miles, I think 20 to 30 miles. I guess that area is pretty scarce when it comes to water, so being able to have some water caches wait for you is something that I'm definitely going to take advantage of. The other thing I needed to look at is, do I need any other permits to be able to hike the Continental Divide Trail? Like, so on the Pacific Crest Trail, you actually need to get a PCT permit that helps you to be able to travel through the PCT from the beginning to the end. If you don't get a PCT permit, you do have the option of applying for the individual permits for each state park. And so I needed to look at whether the CDT had a total permit system, and it does not, but there are certain places I will need to get permits for. My research indicated that it should be pretty easy to get those permits as I get to the stations, the ranger stations or the permit stations. So I'm not super worried about that. And then one more thing that I needed to look at to start my process is whether I could carry my food with just a food bag or if I needed to have a bear canister at all times. My initial research indicates that there are spots where it would be highly recommended to have a bear canister, which, I'm going to further research if other hikers felt that was necessary, and also whether it is absolutely required or just recommended. But I am definitely happy to carry a bear canister or a bear bag, whatever is necessary to make this as safe as possible for the bears, which is really the most important thing, but also obviously for me and other humans. And besides looking at what airport I'm going to start at, I also needed to see what was a typical start date for a northbound through hiker, and I guess it looks like mid-April to late April or mid-May, so definitely not a big window and later than most of the through hikes, right? I mean, I know that the PCT, they recommend to start in April as well, but Appalachian Trail through hikers start as early as January. I mean, even earlier, like there are people starting in October already. But just to kind of keep it with the year, on the AT you can start in January, which is not recommended for the CDT or the PCT. The other thing that I do is I look at what kind of gear do I need for that particular trail, as well as that particular terrain. The terrain entails New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, Idaho, and Montana. So that's of course terrain that involves you be in some really hot environment as well as being in really high elevation. Now, the most important thing that I saw on the CDT is that I probably should carry some extra water purification methods, meaning obviously I will have my Sawyer filter for filtering my water. However, I'm also going to carry some special water purification tablets to help just make sure that I'm not going to get the giardia and all other things involved in dirty water. Another thing that I did is I tried out some different gears, or I tried to play with gear just to see what I'm going to want to do for the CDT. I thought maybe trying out some topo trail runners just because they're a little bit more available in Salomon. However, that didn't work out. And then the other thing is I'm trying to see whether I'm going to bring my amazing Sky Goat, which is what I've been carrying with me on all my through hikes, or whether I want to go with an Alpha Direct hoodie for my mid layer. I still don't know what I'm gonna do, but that is one of the things that I'm also doing as my initial planning stage. As you may or may not have seen my video recently, I'm gonna be pretty alone on the Continental Divide Trail, and so, obviously thinking about what if I get injured, what will happen. Obviously I have a Garmin messenger that I'm going to carry with me just so that I can get an SOS signal out if something happens. But the other thing is I recently took a wilderness first aid class, and actually Mark Trail and we did it together at Pinkham Notch in New Hampshire, and that helped me just kind of feel a little bit better about maybe helping some other people, but also really helping myself if I get injured. How to tie a tourniquet with just a piece of cloth, how to do some splints, just a different kind of things on what to do if I get injured by myself and I need to take care of myself or other people until help actually arrives. So those are the first few things that I have started so far in planning my through hike. Obviously looking at all the different gear. I need a new backpack. I need a bunch of different things. I am going to go over all the different pieces of gear that I had to get. There were some old bags I needed to upgrade on. I needed some new clothes. I needed a new pot, right? A new cooking pot. And so definitely a bunch of new things, which is exciting for any thru hiker or any hiker. We love our gear. And so having the CDT as an excuse to get new gear, of course, was really exciting. Obviously, as you've seen in my other video, I am planning to have a GPS watch with me. The one that I purchased for $99 isn't gonna work, so I'm gonna try to see how to save some money for a good Garmin watch, or I think Chorus or something like that is another brand. So saving up money for a watch that is going to be pretty essential for my hike. Essentially, I need the watch to be able to track my mileage. It's also good to have it for any kind of routes that I want to upload, since the CDT has different variables of routes that you can take. And so that's part of my initial planning. I'm going to try to do some further videos as I go further in my planning, but those were my initial things on what I needed to do to get the process started. Now, if you do like this kind of content and you are excited about joining me on my CDT thru hike, do consider subscribing. It helps my channel so much. But also, I was going to ask you, I am currently filming this on my DJI Action 4, and I had previously done a video with it, and somebody said that the outer part is distorted. I personally cannot see that, so I don't know what they are talking about. Is this video distorted on the outside? And if it is, if you have some good knowledge when it comes to technology, can you tell me what setting I need to put this camera on so that it's not going to be distorted for you guys? So let me know how this video looks. Is it distorted? Is it not distorted? And what can I do for it not to be distorted? Thanks so much.